It was the last day of the year, and snow was falling thick and fast. Everyone in the town was getting ready to celebrate New Year's Eve. The streets were lit up, and the houses glowed with warm lights. But not everyone was happy. A little girl, wearing only a thin dress and no shoes, wandered sadly through the snowy streets. Her feet were bare because she had lost the slippers she'd worn when she left home. They were too big for her and kept slipping off. Now, her tiny feet were freezing in the snow. The little girl was carrying a bundle of matches, hoping to sell them to earn a little money. But no one had bought even one match from her that day. People were too busy preparing for their celebrations to notice her. As she walked through the streets, she saw cozy houses with delicious smells of food wafting out of the windows. She could hear laughter and music. But she had no home like that. Her family was very poor, and their tiny attic was cold and drafty, with holes in the roof. She was afraid to go back because her father would scold her for not selling any matches. Finally, she found a little corner between two houses where the wind didn't blow as much. She sat on a low wall and hugged her knees to keep warm. But it wasn't enough. Her fingers were numb, and her feet were turning blue from the cold. Oh, if only I could light one little match, she thought. Just to feel a tiny bit of warmth. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a match. Striking it against the wall, it flared up with a small, bright flame. She cupped her hands around it and felt its wonderful warmth. As she stared at the flame, she imagined herself sitting in front of a big, beautiful stove. The heat made her feel so cozy and happy, but just as she stretched out her feet to warm them, the flame went out. The stove vanished, and she was back in the freezing cold. She lit another match. This time, she dreamed of a long table covered with a delicious feast. There was a golden roast goose, steaming and crispy. Just as the goose began to walk toward her, the match burned out, and the food disappeared. She quickly lit a third match. Now she saw the most beautiful Christmas tree, glittering with lights and decorations. She reached out to touch it, but the match went out again, and the tree vanished. She looked up and saw the stars twinkling in the dark sky. One star fell, leaving a golden trail behind it. "Someone has just gone to heaven," she whispered, remembering what her kind grandmother used to say about falling stars. Her grandmother was the only person who had ever loved her, but she had passed away long ago. Tears filled the little girl's eyes as she lit another match. Suddenly, her grandmother appeared in the bright light, smiling warmly. "Grandma!" the girl cried. "Please, take me with you. Don't leave me here alone." She quickly lit the rest of the matches in her bundle to keep her grandmother close. The light grew so bright that it seemed like daytime. Her grandmother took her hand, and together they rose higher and higher, leaving the cold, hunger, and sadness behind. The next morning, the townspeople found the little girl sitting on the wall, her face peaceful and smiling. She had passed away in the cold night, with the burned matches scattered around her. She just wanted to keep warm, they said sadly. But they didn't know that in her last moments, the little girl had found warmth, love, and happiness as she joined her grandmother in a better place.